In this video, you're going to discover how to build your own landing page via anti-gravity. And this is all I do. I just study AI, I build things. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to build one yourself, understand the 3 tools required for any building, and ultimately how to navigate anti-gravity. Now, tip number 1, this is super important, and I've learned this the hard way by just building a bunch of stuff and it going bad and failing. Planning is super, super important. So say you had your ICP and you know you're going to want to know that information, right? We're not just building for building's sake. So for instance, let's just start by ping-ponging ideas off anti-gravity here. Planning is super important. I don't care if it's Claude Max. I don't care what tier you have. If you're not planning appropriately, it is not going to matter. In the end, you're going to have a bunch of circular code that's just not working. You're going to have a lot of issues. You're going to have big context windows. And so you want to plan appropriately. And so the way I like to do that is either by going to Claude first, right? We can open that in our terminal. And one of the tools I need you to have is an IDE. Now, why I love anti-gravity? Because it has its own built-in, right? And we're going to use that today. But you can ping pong ideas off either Claude via the terminal, or even just ask it here. And that's what we're going to do. So one thing I like to do is just basically a simple, this is not best practices for prompt given the sake of this video. However, I just basically said, help me brainstorm a landing page for my business. I help whoever your ICP is, in this case, cosmetic clinics, get more leads via advertising. Please ask questions to help brainstorm. And you can see it asks us for this. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all this right now. Kind of get the point. But these are crucial things. So as we can see, there's about your client. You got to make sure that you know them, social proof and results, goals for landing pages, what's the primary call to action. We are going to book a call. Now, one thing that you'll hear people say, and you can definitely do this, is take any references you like of websites. My biggest thing when you're looking for people to model, the best thing you can do is go outside of your domain. Because what tends to happen, and you can obviously see this across different fields, is that everything starts to look the same, right? Everyone's using the same copy. Everyone's using the same angles. Everyone's using the same color, font. And it becomes very hard to differentiate yourself. So what you want to do, especially if you're in a competitive market, what you want to do is you want to look outside of that. Take from like just some weird niches, some ad hoc niches you might not even think of before, or just so far away from your niche, because those things, especially if they're outliers, because those things are already proven, and there's a good chance, if it's based off human psychology, there's a good chance it's going to work in your field. It might even work even better because you're going to stand out so much. All right, so here we go. Perfect. That makes sense. And you have to remember too, a lot of this stuff that it's going to build out for you are so-called artifacts. You can download them, you can type into them, you can kind of control them, which is very cool. Results and credibility. Again, see, we're going to start going into this 5-minute promise. Perfect. Right, so now it's prompting me to plan, and we are on the planning mode, and you'll see what that looks like in a second here. So instead of it all just doing it all for me, I like to still have, so-called human in the loop, where I'm there, I'm seeing what it's actually coding, I'm seeing what it's putting together before I really accept anything or move forward. So again, we're not going to really focus on all this stuff. If you have this information, that's great. I've been studying marketing for a very long time. Results and credibility obviously is one of the needle movers. And then your 5-minute promise, above the fold is super important. Okay, not necessarily best practices. Again, what tends to happen with a lot of vibe coding, it's called boilerplate code. And it's just very circular. Like you might even see it right here eventually, where I'm prompting it to do something and it just won't do it. And then it's going to tell me it has done it and it hasn't done it. So sometimes the code, like you'll be like, wow, I have so many lines of code. What you have to think is how many lines of this code do I actually need, right? It's not just kind of this circular thing that it's doing for me. And obviously it's easier to kind of demonstrate or see rather than me kind of explain it. So nonetheless, let's just create it. Say you did spend a few hours, right? Whatever, figuring out all this good information. Again, you can ask it to create you more questions. Totally fine. Now it's going to build this thing. And so the beautiful thing is I can either collapse, I can expand. It's going to start building stuff out. I can come into the actual open editor. Now I can come into my terminal here, and I do have Claude. I just have to say Claude. And what it's going to do is going to bring it up. Let's just go yes. And now I can actually play with Claude. All right, which is awesome. Okay, then I can see the open editor. So I like to be in this, for instance, this area here. Nothing has been created yet. On this left bar here on my mouse, you will start to see the development of this landing page. Now the landing page is not that big. It doesn't require that much. So this is not going to fill up like if you were building a full-fledged website, but it will still populate. Okay, so you can just exit out of this for right now. It will hopefully start a plan. Again, you can create some very cool stuff. Right now I'm creating basically a dialer for some of my clients because they're in the home services niche. And they do, it's like they do some plumbing, they do renos, they do X, Y, and Z. And so having the ability to call clients is super important, especially when they first, especially when they're hot, right? I think, Alex Ramosi has stated this a lot. I think there's a 400% increase in close rate. I want to say, I believe there's actually, I think it's 395% chance. I don't know if it is in close rate due to you calling within, I think, the first 60 seconds, but just call your leads as soon as they come through. So we can come over here, and like I said, so let's just accept this. And then you can basically be here, right? So this is where I like to be, as I said. We have the index file being created, the HTML, and it's just going to do its thing. This is where you could potentially go get a coffee, use the bathroom, talk to a friend, call a friend, whatever it may be. And one thing I was going to mention too is that if you don't know what to build, you can model others, right? So one of the cool features with this is you can just screenshot a lot of things. When I first started out, I love Apple. When I first started out, I actually screenshotted a section of Apple's website that I thought was really unique. It was cool, and I wanted to mimic some of that with building like a landing page. And so you can screenshot any section you would like on any website. So it's, again, the notion of I have writer's block or I have whatever landing page block in this case is false, right? Incomplete. You should be able to just roam around, look for websites you think are cool, and then continue onwards because you can just screenshot. So let me see here. We can see we have some files being completed, and they are going to do this. So the three tools, let's talk about the tools here. Number one, IDE, super important. Anti-gravity already provides that for you. That's why instead of just using Claude Code on its own, this is the browser feature you're about to see. So as you can see, that is the landing page. It's pretty sweet, right? That is amazing. Now, this will not move forward. Okay, so you'll see here, we can see scrolling mouse. Eventually, it might ask for my input, right? Because it's on planning mode. So as you can see, look at this. This looks freaking amazing. And I've put landing pages together myself, right? I've tried low ticket. I've tried high ticket. I've spent a lot of time with ClickFunnels trying to put landing pages together, and they take a ton of time. They really do. So having this thing develop it for me, and this is the beauty of, I mean, Claude just, I believe, just came out with their Chrome extension, but Google's vertical integration is second to none. This is great. And is this perfect? Definitely not, right? Like if you're looking for conversions, is this perfect? No. Does this have kind of the staples you need? Yes, most definitely. And so I can just come back here. Right, it might ask me some stuff. I can kind of toggle through. I can accept some stuff. So as we can see here, completed landing page ready for review, right? And we have it here. Now, this is a local host. So this is only on basically a local level, like my computer. You know, there's no obviously domain attached to it. There's no domain attached to it. So the second tool you are going to need is Versal. All right, Versal is where you're actually going to be able to connect a domain, your company's domain, to the actual website. I can show you that. It's super easy. You can even ask. This is the beautiful part. It's not, you know, again, things are changing so fast. You're not in an era anymore where you don't know how to do things, right? You can just ask Claude. You can ask anti-gravity. So we're going to come here, and this is the landing page, right? So as you can see, we have how it works. We have benefits, and we have results. Okay, now obviously this is fabricated. You're going to want to put your actual results in here. But this is fantastic. This is a great first step, especially if you're a beginner when it comes to landing pages, right? CRO can be complex, right? How to basically navigate from your ad, how to navigate and help that buyer journey, right? How to help someone down that buyer's journey is super important, right? So if there's a disconnect between your ad and landing page, it's not going to work, right? That's like you wanting to watch a movie on Netflix and you kind of see the, I guess, the thumbnail or whatever. You press on it and it's completely different, right? Just it's not going to convert well. Someone's just going to kind of click off immediately. So you have to make sure that there's congruency, that there's consistency across the ad, the page, everything, right? And so that's kind of the tricky part of things. And how to optimize this for CRO, of course. But as we can see here, trusted by 50 plus cosmetic clinics, right? And the cool part is to edit this is super easy. But you have to realize they're putting stuff here for a reason, right? So we have book a discovery call, brings me all the way down here. This is not fully connected. It will be if we just ask anti-gravity, right? But we can connect this to our Calendly. And as soon as we go to book a call, it will route us to our Calendly. Right, we can all do that, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is just quickly edit the CTA above the fold. We're going to make it a little smaller. Now, you should be very specific with your language. So what it might do, before we even check, it could, so since I asked it to be smaller, that could be the length smaller, the height, the width, the writing. It really doesn't know what I mean when I say smaller. So you want to be very specific, more specific the better. Do not leave these models to interpret what you are meaning. It's not going to work out, right? You can even screenshot too. So again, specificity wins in this race. What you can even do is you can screenshot this CTA and then just provide to Claude, make it, don't make it so big. Okay, I really don't think it did much. And this is what I'm talking about. So with these models, what you're going to have is a lot of time it's going to be back and forth, right? It says it's going to be done, and you're going to come, and it's not going to be done. And as you're seeing, that's the case, right? So let's just move on. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but with a lot of these issues, sometimes you have to spend some time going around them. Sometimes you have to figure out how to kind of deal with it, because as you can see, nothing's really changed. Nonetheless, let's keep moving downwards. So this section here, now what I will say too is usually you can tell it's AI because AI, it's usually a dark landing page and there's always some type of colors. It's like a purple bluish color. Now since we are serving clinics, I would like to have it a blue and green, but I want the off-white, I guess. Let's see. Or like a creamy white kind of. And then I'll do that. And then let's actually ask it. So again, if I'm a complete beginner, I don't know how to build landing pages, don't kind of know what the sections, don't kind of understand what sections I should be putting into things. Let's just say what other features. And once you start playing around with this enough, you'll start understanding where these sections are, right? So if you are having like, again, if we are wanting to change the color, we can just go into the CSS file here. And we can see that the hero CTA button, right? So the padding, font size, I can just come in here and I can say, well, I kind of want my font size a little bigger. Let's go maybe 1.2. And you can change it like that. All right. So once you start understanding these files being created, what this really means, you can then actually come in and just manipulate this yourself. Okay. I think, to my understanding, let's see here. Perfect. So again, so it's updating the nav bar, right? It's doing all this stuff. Downloading pages, off-white background, white cards on the white. Perfect. Let's go back to localhost here. There we go. So as you can see, you can tell a bit of the difference between the colors, right? So that was before, this is after. So it got the color down, which is perfect. Now I think they do say conversions actually increase with a lighter background, potentially. So that looks great. So this is Vercel. This is one of the tools I see. You can see here some projects I got going on. What you're going to do is you're going to come into here and you're just going to, you can buy a domain pretty much from anywhere. Essentially host your domain and make sure that you can actually get to your domain so you can send it to people. So you can come in here and what you can do is you can see, well, I'm going to blur this out, but you can see some domains I have here. You're going to come to your domain. You're going to buy a domain from anywhere. GoDaddy does not matter. And then you're basically just going to import it essentially from here. You're just going to go add existing and you can type in your domain. You can bring over the records. So I'm going to say is deployed to Vercel. Now it's going to give me a Vercel link. And now I can start exchanging that essentially with people. See, there we go. So your stream leads landing page is now live. That is my project. Okay, so all I'm going to do is press on it. And then I can basically just send this to people. Right? And if we come back to Vercel, Streamleads project. The last tool is GitHub. GitHub is basically, if you're working with teams, if you kind of want to store the code base. So if I really like this landing page, I'm in love with it. I don't necessarily maybe want to have it in a file or on anti-gravity. I essentially want to put it towards, right? So I want to AKA put it in the cloud. But essentially, if you're working with teams and you just want to keep editing the code very quickly, you want to have it in the cloud, that's what GitHub's for. With a landing page, you don't necessarily need to have that because it's just super simple, right? Again, if you're going to have your co-founder or whoever working on it, sure, push it to GitHub, but you don't necessarily need GitHub, all right, for this whole thing to function. So as you can see, we developed this quite quickly. And again, it's not perfect. I would still spend some time on this, but the problem is a lot of people we're going to spend 2 weeks on this, and that's an issue. So, you're going to have anti-gravity. You can play around with Claude in the terminal there. You can create this, put all your information in, make sure the copy is right, make sure the CRO elements are there. You can deploy it via Vercel, and this could be something you're directing traffic to, as you can see, within probably an hour, right? I would tweak this up, and then you can deploy it immediately, and then you can go to maybe Higgsfield, for instance. That's a platform I use, and you can create AI images that look realistic now because of Nano Banana Pro, and you're off to the races. You have ads, you have traffic, you have ads, you have a landing page, and you're going to throw a few dollars behind that to see where the drop-off occurs. Now, another tool, I guess a bonus tool for those that stayed, a bonus tool is Microsoft Clarity. So Microsoft Clarity is just basically heat mapping software. You use it to see where the drop-offs occur. And if you've ever used a heat map software before, now if you've ever used a heat map like, Hotjar or whatever, it will show that majority of people do not scroll. So your above the fold is super important, just like your headlines, anything, right? So your 80-20, this here everyone lands on essentially if it's fast enough, if your loading speed is fast enough. But not everyone's going to scroll down. Hardly anyone scrolls down, right? So you want to optimize for this page. So get Microsoft Clarity, upload it, and connect it, all right, to the landing page. So hopefully that all makes sense. If you have any questions, put those in the comments. And always, my friends, I will see you later.